G'day guys, kia ora, my name is Wildkard. Welcome to the most one-eyed Crusaders rugby review. And yes, a lot of people going into this game actually said that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter who wins or loses this game, right? Like, if you think about it, you're gonna play the Hurricanes sooner or later, right? If you win this game, you don't play the Hurricanes next week, you play the Hurricanes in the final. If you lose this game, most likely, you're going to play the Hurricanes next week. So why does it matter? Why does it matter? Let me tell you why it matters, guys. First of all, how do people live with one eye? It's quite difficult. And secondly, let me tell you why that matters, right? Because rugby means something to the people of New Zealand. Because rugby means something to the people at Christchurch that sold out the stadium in 20 minutes or what. It means something. Winning and losing means something to the Crusaders and to the Blues, and getting the selection, getting the black jersey actually means something. Still, okay? Still means something to a lot of people in New Zealand, and the players showed it, their true passion out of the field. This is the difference between New Zealand rugby and a lot of rugby around the world, right? It's not just about playing rugby. It's not just about making a paycheck and whatnot. It's the players out there, you can see they truly passionate and enjoy the sport that they participate in, right? Sometimes I look around, in some of the Australian teams, not gonna name names again. You think so many of us have grown up dreaming to be a rugby player, dreaming to be rich and famous and, go out and play a sport and have all the girls following you around and, wanting to date you, right? That's like all of us had that dream. And yet I see here in Australia, so many of the players don't seem to get it. They're living in the dream. They're just out there collecting a paycheck and not really understanding what an opportunity they have to really push themselves, push the sport, right? Push, Australian rugby into another level. And yet, you look at the New Zealand teams, everyone, win, lose, or draw, they put their bodies out there. And they understood. They want to play this game, not just to be rich and famous and whatnot, because they're truly passionate about the sport. Here's one thing that I wanted to just, go back a little bit about the, I'm so excited. I just want to go back a little bit about the European Champions Cup final. Bordeaux was playing against Leinster, and they just absolutely ripped Leinster apart. They were basically got the game won at halftime. I can't remember the exact score, but it was like 35 points to 10 or something. Similar score to what the Crusaders had against the Blues at halftime. And Bordeaux came out of the second half, right? Just kicked penalty goals. I don't think they even attempted to score a try in the second half. They just kicked penalty goals. Now, one of the things that I talk about a lot, if you work the spreadsheets, right? If you work the spreadsheets, you look at how much the players cost, right? Oh, this guy's costing us, millions of dollars. These guys cost how much. If you look at how expensive the players are, especially how much they get paid in the top 14, and then you look at, you still got the top 14 championships coming up, right? It made sense for them. It made absolute financial, strategic, and just fatigue sense for the players to just phone it in for the second half, because they basically cannot lose at that point. Just kick a bunch of penalties. There's almost no way they could have lost that, right? And it's good for that because it gives the players a break. It reduces the chance of getting hurt, and then just mentally get everyone to freshen up for the upcoming top 14 push. And it's just not necessary. It's no longer necessary. Yes, it's a Champions Cup final. It's no longer necessary for the Bordeaux to take any more risk. And they play prevent rugby. Like most boring, safe prevent rugby. And you could argue the Crusaders and Blues could easily done that in this game. Just played it safe. We're not going to get eliminated even if we lose the game. Most likely not, right? And we should prepare ourselves for next week, which we might most likely going to play the Hurricanes at some point, and we should have just kicked a bunch of penalties, especially the Crusaders. Could have easily kicked a bunch of penalties at the end, right? And then just call it a day. Still a massive win. But they didn't. They pushed themselves every minute to the end. Because it's the rivalry. It's for their fans. It's for themselves. It's for their own pride and pleasure as a professional rugby player. They wanted to really, let that rivalry show against the Blues and putting everything on the line all the way till the end. They didn't want to give the Blues just a slight sniff of weakness all the way till the end. Even when they were completely out of reach, they still tried to score tries and finished off the Blues. And because they understand, right, how important this momentum is. They understand how important the mentality is. How important it is to find passion and joy in what they do. And they did it. They did it with passion. They did it with joy, with a smile on their face. And they enjoyed every bone-crunching tackle. They enjoyed every moment that everything the Blues throws at them. And that is rugby. That is the difference between New Zealand rugby and pretty much every other rugby region around the world. It's the passion and these guys don't get paid nearly as much as the players at Bordeaux. But they put 100% effort till the last minute of the game. And that, guys, that is what championship teams are made of. That is why Crusaders have been dominant for so many years. That's why New Zealand rugby has been dominant all around the world in the All Blacks for so many years. It's mentality, passion, and relentless mindset like that gets them there for so long and so many years. And boy, I hope this never goes away. And hope this, this mentality, maybe one of the Australian teams can just rub off a tiny bit of that. Maybe we'll make the finals and potentially threaten another championship at some point, right? But hey, I was so impressed. There were so many things I want to talk about a little bit as well. Outside of that, Jordan McNichol, someone was criticizing him in my comments. And then he almost like he heard him, right? Hat-trick McNichol tonight. Showed the guy, showed you, mate. I'm sorry, but he probably heard you. He read the comments. And then, he showed up tonight and really put on a huge effort, right? I mean, why would you doubt him? He doesn't play for Wales anymore. He's a real Crusader, right? Now, and just unbelievable performance. I thought he was a bit kind of, he's a bit wet off from Will Jordan, but from the performance we saw tonight, I don't think Will Jordan would have put on a better show than he did if he was on the field. David Havili, another guy that's just been absolute championship quality. He's been taking over the captaincy, and he has struggled a number of years at this point to really, due to injuries and just due to, performance, consistency. He really struggled quite a bit, and he fell out of the All Blacks for a number of years now. And, again, it's not just this game that he stepped up where he just led the team into, a front row momentum when the team needed him the most, especially in that second half when the Blues are looking like they're going to stage a comeback, and he made a line break and set up a try. He did this almost pretty much every game in coming into the finals, right? I think it was the last round, a couple rounds ago, where they needed to win that game. I think it was against the Blues again, or maybe it was against the I think it was against the Blues. They had to win that, or Ricks was potentially getting knocked out of top 6. He kicked out 50-22 to turn the game around. Just really stepping up. Big game player, David Havili. Boy, I wish, hopefully we get a chance to see him at the All Blacks again this year. That is what you need. That is what you need to win World Cups. Someone that steps up under pressure, and not only just you're not just once or twice, but consistently every week stepping up under pressure and delivering the results that your teams are looking for. As the captain, as the leader, lead by example. So brilliant. I really hope that he gets another shot at the All Blacks. Next thing I want to talk about is the kicking for 3. Just one more touch on it. So Justin Marshall, there was one point where the Blues had a red card, and they were down to basically 14 players. And the traditional style of rugby if you were to look at this 4 or 5 years ago, would have been like, take the 3 and run the clock down a little bit, right? You take the 3, you get 3 points on the ball, you run like a minute off the clock, and then we go from there. The Blues didn't go for it. They went for the try. They actually scored. And Jeff Wilson actually said, it's good to soak up some time. And I'm finally starting to be, I think it's good. Finally, someone in the commentary is actually starting to understand the importance of controlling the game and controlling the time, right? It's the 3 points. Sometimes are not even worth it if you are giving away possession, giving away the opportunity to play rugby and getting hammered, with 14 players defending the try line. Taking the 3, it's actually way worse. And in fact, the Blues, after scoring this try, was not able to regain momentum. The Crusaders scored like 2 or 3 tries in retaliation within that 20-minute red card. But I just think that at least the mentality is the right decision, right? It is really important. So one of the things Sun Tzu, The Art of War, talks about is literally one of the most important things in all of warfare, right? Is to have the ability to pick where the fight happens on your terms. If you can pick the fight where it's strategically advantage to you, right? On top of a hill or something where you have the high ground or something, you have a much, much, much better chance of winning the fight than if you let the opponent, the enemy, pick where they want to fight, and you're often leading into a trap, right? And in the game of rugby, the ball, it's where the collusion, the contact, the contest, it's going to happen. If you hold on to the ball, doesn't matter if you've only got 14 players or 13 players, the contest can only occur where the ball is. And as long as you secure the ball, everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're down 1 player or 2 players. It's so important, to really pick where the fight is, especially when you're down a player. And I think, in addition to just being able to run down the clock even more by holding on to the ball, but also being able to pick the fight, is more important when it comes to that, to playing with 14 players or less. And obviously, you're gonna say some situations where your team are so much better at defense and the opposition are so much worse at attacking. You wanted to just take the 3 and defend because knowing that they probably can't score anyway. But then, in that situation, you're probably gonna, if the oppositions are so bad at scoring, again, doesn't matter if you take the 3, they won't score anyway, right? Even if you don't take the 3, they have no threat of scoring. If that's the case, then why does it matter? You can still, running the clock down for longer is still better by holding on to the ball, right? So, it doesn't really make sense, but I can see that logic maybe, being considered a little bit more there. So, yeah, it was really, really kind of interesting to see the commentary talking about that. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about before we look at the stats is one thing I did notice that both the Kiwi teams are doing much better than the Aussie teams is taking advantage of a mistake of the opposition. So many of these tries and opportunity scored in this game is a result of a quick turnover, right? The opposition knock on the ball, a quick turnover, and suddenly the boys spread out wide, or the boys pass for a kick and goes into a 50-22. And just that, I guess that, that being switched on and that awareness and that just eagerness to play the game and just really understanding how the overall picture is, what the opposition is doing, and try to take advantage of that after getting a turnover, just really, really well exploited for both teams, and something that the Australian teams just really aren't doing. I don't they try, but hasn't just really aren't doing nearly to the same level that the New Zealand teams are doing. And I think that this is a really important thing, in the rugby today, to be able to execute that more, to execute that better, especially for the Australian teams. Now, anyway, let's have a look at the match stats of the game. 8 tries to 5, bonus point. That doesn't really matter. Like I said, it doesn't even matter. There's no bonus point. They still push for it. 466 meters for the Crusaders to 592 for the Blues. We've got 33 defenders beaten for the Crusaders, 29 defenders beaten for the Blues, 22 turnovers conceded for the Crusaders, 21 for the Crusaders. Pretty high for both teams. Lots of back and forth there. 240 tackles made for the Crusaders, 29 missed tackles. That is actually quite high for the Crusaders. One of pretty high for both teams. They want to take that down quite a bit. 129 for the Blues. 33 minutes tackles there. 17 kicks in play for the Crusaders. 18 kicks in blue. 2 missed conversions for the Crusaders. Not 100%. You're gonna probably try and get. Yeah, I mean, Ruben Love's 100%. That is another level there. 3 out of 5 for the Blues there as well. Not that great. Not that much kick from hand. 485 from the Crusaders meters. Kick from hand meters. It's a 368 for the Crusaders. That's really low. Both teams were just ball in hand and try to run the opposition. Like I said, there's a lot of quick counter attacks after throughout the game. 3 lineouts lost for the Crusaders out of 11. That's not great. 3 lineouts lost out of 6 for the Blues. Not great either. 1 scrum loss for the Crusaders. This was I think this was the scrum was actually pretty even. And I think the reserve came on, or just before the reserve coming on, there was a little bit of the referee for early engagement sort of infringement that led to a scrum loss. Not really because the Blues actually just pushed over or anything like that. Penalties conceded, only 3, and considering one of them is a scrum penalty, so the Crusaders only gave away 2 penalties the entire game. Wow, that's crazy. The Blues gave away 8 penalties. There was 1 red card. I think it was Rampling. High shot on Fanga Anoku. Yeah, I thought it was definitely red right away. No, just straight up to the head. It did make a wrap, but dangerous high shot. One of the things I was actually thinking the other day, the players have, the electronic mouth guards, and if they're it detects whether or not a player needs to be taken off for a HIA, and Fanga Noku did not get taken off for a HIA after this, so the mouth guard didn't go off after that. I thought that was really surprising, and also in my opinion, because you have the technology, assuming that your technology actually works, right? Because you have the technology, in my opinion, if the mouth guard don't go off and the player don't need to get a HIA because the impact wasn't high enough to trigger the mouth guard, I don't think he should be a red. I think he should just be a yellow. That would be the mitigating factor, right? Not high enough of danger because the mouth guard didn't even go off. The impact wasn't big enough to trigger the mouth guard. Unless your technology is faulty, right? Then we can talk about that in another video. But assuming that your technology is not faulty, because you've been putting players off to get HIA checked all the time, and somehow this one, he didn't get taken off. I don't think did it. I don't think he did. If that's the case, then this shouldn't be a red card because it's low level of danger. It didn't even trigger the mouth guard. It may look bad because the camera angles and the way the player moves might look bad, but if the actual impact is not enough to even trigger the mouth guard, should this be even a red card? Let me know your thoughts, right? Let me know your thoughts. So a number of interesting thing there as well. So let's do a quick recap of game to finish off this review. 2 minutes in the game. The Blues gets their first try on the ball, actually. It was a beautiful line-out play. He went over the top. I think it was Rampling got the ball at the end, and he was running at a 10, and then he threw inside ball to AJ Lamb, who ran through the gap, and then he linked up with the number 9, Nook, who ran in for the try. 7 points to nil. 12 minutes in the game, the Crusaders got a turnover. Quick ball spread wide, keeping the ball alive, back and passing between themselves, and eventually the ball came back to the left-hand side. Several Reese got the ball on the sideline and stepped the last defender in field for the try. 7 points to 7. 18 minutes, Rampling got sent off for the 20-minute red card. 20 minutes in the game following this red card, the Crusaders had a line out, and then there was the midfield crash for Blackadder. He popped the ball back to Leah Willie. Leah Willie again popped the ball back to Johnny McNichol, who ran in for the try. 14 points to 7. After this, the Blues went for the 3, and they went for a nice pick and drive, and Segner going in for the try. 14 points to 14. 29 minutes in the game from the kickoff. The Crusaders got a line out on the poor exit. The ball went out wide to Havili in midfield. Havili dummy and just ran through a couple of defenders. 21 points to 14, stepping up the footwork. 33 minutes in the game, the Crusaders had a 20-meter line out. There was a long pass from Several Reese out wide to Fihaki. There was a bounce, and Fihaki got the ball. He stepped in field, like 4 defenders just ran past him, and then ran in for the try. This looked like a Dylan Peach try a couple weeks ago. And ran in for the last week, in fact. 26 points to 14 for the Crusaders. 37 minutes in the game, the Crusaders had this was another interesting try here. So Cody Taylor did it was a tap and go right in front of the goalpost. He faked the tap. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to fake the tap. That should have been like a short arm or penalty right away. You can't fake the tap. You can't fake anything. You can't fake anything to get your opposition to be off to bait them offside. That's against the law. You can't do that. You can't deliberately try to bait your opposition to go offside by faking a tap or a kick or by taking the ball out of the rack or anything like that. He did that. He faked the tap, and the Blues players came off the line, and then they're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And then they went back, and then he tapped the ball and ran. I thought that was already a penalty, so Nick Berry missed that one. That's a pretty bad call. And then the ball kind of went out the back. Blackadder clearly shoulder checked somebody in the defense, and then the ball went out, and then the back door, and then I think it was, who was it? Kemura ran in for the try, but clearly this was like the fake tap should have already been a penalty. Nick Blackberry didn't blow it, and then Blackadder blocking was clearly another penalty there, and then this try was given. 33 points to 14. Yeah, it was bizarre, a little bit bizarre there. I thought that was a pretty bad call. But anyway, Crusaders halftime's 30 points to 14. 50 minutes in the game in the second half. The Crusaders again tried to run out of their own half. David Havidi got the ball, saw Tupulotu in front of him, just palmed him off and ran straight through. And then offload in field to John McNichol for another try. 40 points to 14. 55 minutes in the game, the Blues had a scrum inside the Crusader 22. Hoskins to Tutu ran down the open side, and then the ball was quickly picked. There was a quick short ball from him to what's his name, to Taele, who got tackled short, and he reached out for the try. 40 points to 21. 62 minutes in the game. Hat-trick McNichol delivers the third try. So there was a Blues lineout, got turned over, and then there was a quick ball just swung out wide from the Crusaders, and Johnny McNichol ran a little unders line and punched through AJ Lamb for the try. 47 points to 21. 68 minutes. The Blues was pressuring center field. The Crusaders defense was going backwards and compressed a lot, and the ball got spread out wide quickly for the Blues, and Peyton Spencer was overlapping space, who ran in for the try. 47 points to 26. 78 minutes. There was another Crusaders penalty. Went for the 73 minutes. They went for the more, and they went in for the try. 52 points to 26. And finally, 78 minutes. The Crusaders gets one last try. The ball was just basically spun out wide to to Caleb Clark. He ran down. There was like a huge group of Crusaders swooping across to try to get him, and he jumped in the air, hovered, dunked the ball into the corner. Try time, 52 points to 31. What a great game. Great finish. Great New Zealand derby. And this is what Super Rugby and rugby really is about. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later for the Reds versus Chiefs game. Cheers.